Donald Sangster was Prime Minister of Jamaica for only 48 days. He succeeded Jamaica's first Prime Minister in political independence, Sir Alexander Bustamante. Sangster was born on October 26, 1911, and died on April 11, 1967, at the age of 55 years and 6 months old. There was no celebration of the centenary of his birthday in 2011, despite the fact that his own party, the Jamaica Labour Party, was then in office. In our last video, we looked at the assassination attempt on the life of Michael Manley. If you haven't seen that video, the link will be in the description below. Now, back to Sangster. The late Artley Netia wrote a biography of Sangster entitled The Forgotten Prime Minister, but Netia did not live to see the launch. In this book, Netia pointed out the sterling contribution made by Sangster, a lawyer by profession who first entered politics at the age of 21 as a member of the St. Elizabeth Parochial Board, now called the Parish Council. He lived a very full life as a sportsman from his days at Monroe. He had a healthy love for athletics, cricket, and football, amongst other sports. In 1944, Sangster ran as an independent candidate for the old South St. Elizabeth seat and lost. He was placed third in that political race. But it was a narrow loss, with less than 300 votes separating him from the winner, Burnett Bertright Coke, who had won for the JLP. In 1949, Donald Sangster ran as a JLP candidate, while Coke was an independent. This time, Sangster won by a narrow margin of 48 votes. He was appointed Minister of Social Services between 1949 and 1953, Minister of Finance from 1953 to 1955, and again from 1962 to 1967, and acted as his own Minister of Finance. By 1955, the member of the House of Representatives for the old North Clarendon constituency, B.B. Coke, defected to the People's National Party and defeated Sangster by a few thousand votes. It was upon the disqualification of George Perrier on the grounds of defamation of character of another candidate that Sangster won a by-election in December 1955. Incidentally, the late Rose Leon was also disqualified for the same reason of defamation. Thereafter, Sangster was re-elected at every election until his untimely death in Canada in 1967. Donald Sangster's greatest contribution took place during his years as the Deputy Prime Minister of Jamaica. Bustamante had been taken ill for roughly 3 years before he finally left politics, during which time he had been practically bedridden. So it was Sangster who ruled the island nation during those years. At that time, Jamaica was new to political independence, and a framework had to be set, and that fell on the shoulders of Donald Sangster. As finance minister, he introduced legislation for industrial expansion, with a stated emphasis on local production, in continuation of all the efforts done by the previous governments. The preface to Netia's book declares, "The reader might be surprised to discover that while quiet Sangster played second fiddle to the powerful Bustamante, it was Sangster who was in fact the real driver of Jamaica's economy long before his untimely death." It is unfortunate that in the 1990s Jamaica was forced by globalization to take foreign goods, and that has killed so much of his initiative. It was left to the new government, led by 78-year-old Bustamante, to reassure the regional territories that Jamaica would cooperate with the region because of the decision by referendum to secede from the West Indies Federation in September 1961. In fact, this reassurance was the work of Donald Sangster. The decision to keep the University of the West Indies as a regional entity and to remain part of the West Indies cricket team was due in large part to both Donald Sangster and Norman Manley. These were very important issues at the time of our political independence in 1962. Sir Alexander Bustamante was not a conceptualizer, so it was left to Sangster to organize such things. Sangster accompanied Bustamante to the United Nations and also on a visit to the US President John F. Kennedy. According to an anecdotal, Kennedy asked Bustamante what was his foreign policy, and apparently, Sir Alexander only heard the word policy. The story is that Bustamante told Kennedy, British American and mutual life. Is there any truth to that story, now 50 years old, or was it just a created tale? If true, did Sangster have to apply diplomatic damage control? Artley Nitia omitted the story. Fable or not, it is true that Bustamante relied heavily on the younger, well-educated Donald Sangster. Yet, Bustamante was not in favor of Sangster succeeding him, though he was of the view that Sangster made a very good deputy. As far back as 1960, there was a serious ruckus at the JLP conference. Bustamante had organized a slate of deputy leaders and some Young Turks organized otherwise. Bustamante wanted Robert Lightburn to be the first deputy leader. In those days, the deputy leaders or vice presidents of both major political parties were ranked, but this was resisted by the conference. Bustamante unilaterally declared the elections null and void, but allowed Sangster to remain first deputy leader. My sincere thanks goes out to every one of you, my subscribers and viewers of the channel. Thank you for watching, liking, sharing, and supporting the channel over the years. Please know that without your support and donations, it wouldn't be possible for me to continue researching, exploring, and uploading historical content. I really do appreciate every single one of you, and I thank you for your continued support. Nitia wrote in his book about the swearing-in of Sangster. On the night of February 21, 1967, when the JLP won the general election in a state of jubilation, Sangster visited Bustamante at Jamaica House, but was greeted coldly. Sangster therefore arranged to be sworn in as quickly as possible in case Bustamante, who remained JLP leader, used his great influence to get the MPs to choose Hugh Shearer instead. No one knew that Sangster had been sworn in as Prime Minister, not even the top rank of the victorious JLP, and certainly not Bustamante, until there was an official announcement. Nevertheless, Bustamante eventually got his way. Just 48 days after being sworn in, Donald Sangster was dead, and Hugh Shearer was sworn in as Prime Minister of Jamaica. Interested and want to learn more about this period of Jamaican history? The book, The Forgotten Prime Minister, by Artley Nitia might be a good starting point. Thank you so much for watching.
According to Prime Minister Andrew Holness, Sir Donald Sangster was one of the architects of Jamaica's economy.
It was his vision that drove the establishment of Jamaica's second international airport, which is today named after him. And the Donald Sangster International Airport is one of the largest airports in the Caribbean. And that is the airport that continues to buttress our tourism industry. Today, I wish to announce that